Hi, this is Jinta, and today I will be teaching you how to divide polynomials by polynomials using both long and synthetic division. Okay, so for the first example problem here, we have x cubed minus 2x squared minus 3x plus 12 divided by x plus 2. For this first problem, I'm going to solve it using synthetic division. And for synthetic division, there are two things you want to keep in mind. You should only perform it if the coefficient before the x and the denominator is 1, and if it's to the first degree. Otherwise, it gets complicated, and you'd just be better off using long division. Okay, the first thing you're going to want to do is make a boat for all the numbers to sit in. And you're going to look at the coefficient of each term in the numerator and write it in the top row of this boat. So let's start with the x cubed. The coefficient is 1, so I'll write 1 here. The negative 2x squared, the x squared, the coefficient is negative 2, so I write negative 2. The x, it's negative 3, so negative 3. And this one's just 12. And so now what you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to take the opposite, or the negative of this number, and put it on the outside. So since we're dealing with a positive 2, the negative of positive 2 is negative 2. So I'm gonna write negative 2. Alright. So what you're gonna want to do first is you're gonna want to just drop the first number down, and then you're gonna want to multiply this number, which is 1, by negative 2, which is negative 2, and then you write it underneath the next term. Then you're going to want to add these together, negative 2 plus negative 2, negative 4. And then you want to do the same thing, multiply. Negative 4 times negative 2 is 8. Then you want to add, negative 3 plus 8 is 5. Multiply, 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. And add, 12 plus negative 10 is 2. Now that we've got all the numbers down here, we're going to want to make a box around this one, because this number is really important. This is the remainder, because this expression didn't divide properly. So this is the remainder, the last number right here. And then this is going to be your term to the 0th degree. This is going to be your x. This is going to be your x squared. And if we had more numbers, the next one would be x cubed, then so on. So we're just going to write it. We'll start with the term to the 0th. It's just going to be 5. Then this is going to be your x term, so negative 4x. And then this is going to be your x squared term. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take the remainder, right? Add it, but put it over the denominator of the original question. So the denominator was x plus 2. So we're going to want to put our remainder over x plus 2. And here's your answer. Okay. Next, for the next problem, see, this one's a bit more complicated. We're going to be using long division, because you see the x is being squared, and it'd just be too complicated to solve it using synthetic division. So what we're going to want to do first is, instead of making a boat, we're going to make a house, right? And we're going to want to put the denominator on the outside of this house. which in this case is x squared minus x plus 1, the denominator outside of the house. And then inside of the house, you want to put the numerator, the thing that's being divided. So, hold on, let me color code it. X to the 4th. Oh, and notice how there's no x cubed in this problem. Since there's no x cubed, we're going to want to make a placeholder. So, plus 0 x cubed. Plus x squared. Plus, oh shoot, I used that color. Plus 1. Okay. Now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take the x to the highest degree in this expression, which is x squared, and you're going to want to see how many times it goes into the x to the 4th. And it goes into it x squared times. So let's write goes into it x squared times. And since it's x squared, you put it over the x squared and this above the x squared because they're both to the same power. And so now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to multiply the x squared by each term in this expression, and then write it beneath this. Here, I'll show you. So x squared times x squared, right? Obviously x to the 4th. So we're going to write that right here. X squared times negative x to the 3rd. So we're going to write that. X squared times 1. X is going to be x squared. Now here's something really important. We're gonna want to multiply all of this by -1, and then add it together with the terms it's lined up with. So -1 times x to the 4th is negative x to the 4th. X to the 4th minus x to the 4th is going to be 0. -1 times negative x cubed is going to be x cubed. X cubed plus 0 is going to be x cubed. -1 times x squared is going to be negative x squared. X squared plus negative x squared is going to be 0. And then you drop down this 1. So you just okay. Now we just repeat the process. So you see, how many times does x squared go into x cubed? It goes into it x times. So you write x up here plus x. And then we multiply x by each term in this expression. So x times x squared is x cubed. X cubed. X times negative x is negative x squared. Minus x squared. And x times +1 is just x. Now what you're going to want to do is multiply this by -1 and then add -1 times x cubed is negative x cubed. X cubed plus negative x cubed is 0. 0 minus x squared is negative x squared. Or no, I forgot. You have to times it by -1. So -1 times x squared is x squared plus 0 is x squared. And you can't add, and this is just 1 plus x. So plus x plus 1. And so now you're going to want to repeat the process again. And I think this will actually be our last time repeating the process. So how many times does x squared go into x squared? 1 time. So we write that 1 time. And now we multiply +1 by each term in this expression. 1 times x squared is x squared. One times -x is -x. And 1 times 1 is 1. And now we multiply this by -1. Then we get -x squared plus x squared is 0. Oh, this should be a -x, actually. Sorry about that. I forgot to multiply it by -1 when we were adding this. So this should be -x. This one should be -x. Now we multiply this by this. -1 times -x is x. Add it to -x, you get 0. And it's -1 plus 1, you get 0. So this actually works out since there are no remainders. So this is just the answer right here. X squared plus x plus 1. Now if there was a remainder, like let's just say if there was a remainder of 2, you'd add 2 over the denominator of the original question. And then yeah, that's it. Alright. Okay. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna solve this next example problem by both synthetic and long division, so you can compare the two. Okay. Let's go with synthetic division first because I think it's faster. But I guess it doesn't really matter. So first we gotta make our boat. Oh, and feel free to pause and do it yourself if you want, and you can check with my answers at the end. Then we're gonna wanna write each coefficient of the numerator's terms in the top row of the boat. So we're gonna start with the x cubed. The coefficient is 1, so we're gonna write 1. Now so the x squared, the coefficient's -4, so we're gonna write -4. Now the x's coefficient is -19, so we're gonna write -19. And this is just 9, obviously, so we're just gonna write 9. Okay. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the negative of whatever this is, and the negative of 3 is -3, so we're gonna put it on the outside. And then next we're gonna drop the 1. We aren't gonna do anything, we're just gonna drop it. Multiply it by -3. 1 times -3 is -3. And then add -3 plus -4, -7. Right? Then multiply, -7 times -3 is 21. Add 21 minus 19, 2. Multiply 2 times -3, 6. -6. Sorry. And then add 9 minus 6 is 3. Okay. This is, remember, the last number, if there is one. Sometimes it's 0, and that means it divides well. But in this case, it's 3, so we're going to have a remainder. This is going to be our remainder. remainder. And so now, this is going to be our term to the 0th. Or no, not a term to the 0th. This is going to be our term to the... This is going to be our... It's just going to be a number. For example, like 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not going to be to any power. It's not going to have a variable. It's just going to be our number. So it's 2. This is going to be our x. Negative 7x. This is going to be our x squared. And if there was another number, then it'd be our x cubed, and so on. And now that we have this, we're just going to want to take the remainder and put it over the denominator of the original expression. Over x plus 3. And there's our answer. Okay, now we're going to do the same problem, but using long division instead. So first, let's make our house, of course. And now we're going to put the denominator outside of the house, x plus 3. So now we're going to write this inside of the house, the numerator inside of the house, so x cubed. Minus 4x squared minus 19x plus 9. Okay. And so now we're going to want to see how many times x goes into the x cubed. It goes into x cubed x squared times. So we're going to write that above here. It goes into x cubed x squared times. Now we're going to want to multiply each term in this expression by x squared. X squared times x is x cubed. We're going to want to write that right here. And x squared times 3 is 3x squared. We're going to write that right here. Plus 3x squared. Now, don't forget about this part. This part's very important. We're going to want to multiply this by negative 1. So, negative 1 times x cubed is negative x cubed. Negative x cubed plus x cubed is 0. Minus 4x squared minus 3x squared is minus 7x squared. And now we're just going to drop these two numbers. So we're just going to drop them. And it's positive 9. Okay. Now what we're going to want to do is just repeat the process. So how many times does x go into negative 7x squared? Negative 7x times, right? So we're going to want to write negative 7x times. Now we're going to want to multiply each term in this expression by negative 7x. So negative 7x times x is negative 7x squared. Negative 7x plus 3, times 3, is negative 21x. Now what we're going to do is multiply this by negative 1, and then add. So negative 1 times negative 7 is 7x. Negative 1 times negative 7x squared is 7x squared, plus negative 7x squared is 0. This will be 21x. If you add it to 19x, it will be negative 19x. It will be 2x. And then you drop this down. Drop the positive 9 down. Now what you're going to want to do is repeat the process one more time. I think this will be our last time. How many times does x go into 2x? Goes into it 2 times. Now we're gonna multiply. X times 2 is 2x. And 2 times 3 is 6. We multiply this by -1. And we add, this will be 0. This will be 3. And this will be our remainder. And now, we just do this. We take this. And add the remainder over the denominator of the original problem. Plus 3 over plus 3. And as you can see, even though we used two different methods of solving, we should get the same answer for both methods. Okay, this is going to be our last example problem. It's going to be a word problem I wrote. It says, a worker is told that the area of a pool he is building is equal to x to the third plus 5x squared minus 20. He knows that the width is equal to x plus 3, but they forgot the measurement of the length. What is the length of the pool, assuming it is a rectangle? Okay, for this problem, I got a new sheet of paper. So, the problem says that the area of the pool he's building is equal to x cubed plus 5x squared minus 20. So, I'm going to draw a rectangle, since we know the pool is a rectangle. And I'm going to write the area inside. And we also know that the width is x plus 3. And feel free to pause the video and do this on your own, and you can check your answer with mine at the end. Okay. We know that length times width equals the area of a rectangle, right? And we know that the area is equal to x cubed plus 5x minus 20. And we know that the width is equal to x plus 3. So now, all we have to do is get the variable, which is the length, alone. And to do that, we're going to divide this half of the equation by x plus 3. And we're going to get L is equal to x cubed plus 5x minus 20 all over x plus 3. And for this problem, I'm going to choose to do synthetic division because I feel like it's faster, but you can do whichever method works better for you. Okay, so to start, we're going to make our boat. Write each coefficient. One for the x cubed. Since there's oh shoot, it's 5x squared. 5 for the 5x squared. And since there's no x, we're gonna write a 0 for the x, and it's then minus 20. Okay. Now we're gonna take the negative of this positive 3. The negative of that positive 3 is negative 3. So we're just gonna put that out here. So now we're gonna drop this, multiply. You know the process. Add, multiply, add, multiply, add. And now, we simply just, this is going to be our 0th degree term. We just simply put it together. This is going to be our x, 2x. This is going to be our x squared. And remember, if there was more numbers, this would be an x cubed, so on, if there were more numbers, but there's not. Now we just take our -2 and put it over the denominator of the original question, which was x plus 3. Just put it over x plus 3. And if you did it yourself, you can check now, and you should have gotten this as your answer. X squared plus 2x minus 6 plus -2 over x plus 3. And that wraps up my video. Thank you for watching.